Hi there, my name is Beal, and I'd like to share some insights with you today relating to how the environmental issue of climate change continues to impact Australia. This PowerPoint presentation has been developed to address Question 8 and apply the fundamentals of professional engineering practical assessment. The environmental issue I have chosen to speak to you about today is climate change. A well-documented and widely researched issue, climate change has led to the increased activity and impact of natural disasters such as fire, flood, drought, and storm events. This presentation explores these weather events and suggests ways we can work collaboratively to move towards a better future for our planet. So what is climate change? The United Nations defines climate change as long-term shifts in weather patterns. While there are many and varied factors that impact on climate change, scientists agree that the main driver of climate change since the 1800s has been human activity. Processes such as burning fossil fuels, food production, and travel have all contributed to an increase in emissions of greenhouse gases. These gases have contributed to an increased temperature in both the air and our waterways, causing negative impact on our environment. How does climate change impact on Australia and the lives of people living in this great nation? In recent times, there have been a number of notable events and natural disasters that many experts have attributed to climate change. These include fires, floods, droughts, and increased storm activity. Firstly, let's look at the impact climate change has on fire. In 2019-2020, Australia was hit with some of the worst bushfires in recorded history. The emissions produced led to unprecedented environmental changes, ultimately contributing to ocean cooling thousands of miles away. It is estimated that almost 3 billion animals were killed or displaced during the fires, which occurred during record-breaking temperature being recorded. The devastation of these record-breaking fires is reflected in these photos taken when I was working in Tumut, New South Wales, following this disastrous event. It hasn't only been the increased devastation of bushfires that Australians have faced, but the major challenges that come with whole communities and towns are impacted by flooding. Flooding has had a severe impact on people, businesses, and environments. In New South Wales alone, the impact of flooding cost the economy an estimated $250 million every year. Climate change affects our water cycle, resulting in wet areas getting wetter and dry regions getting drier. The 2022 floods across Australia resulted in many people being isolated, displaced, left homeless, and without essential services, including power. While some areas of Australia are faced with increased risk of flooding, other regions are counting the cost of climate change through drought. A drought occurs when rainfall patterns are lower than the usual for that period. This decrease in rain can lead to dry soil, dry riverbeds, and empty dams. The domino effect of a drought can be devastating to individuals, families, towns, and entire economies, having a major impact on our agricultural economy and livelihood. Every 2 years, the State of the Climate Report is released to the public, and it looks at how climate change is affecting Australia. In the report, it states that Australia is on average 1.4 degrees warmer since 1910, and that this increase in temperature has led to more extreme heat events. It also predicted that if climate change continues, there'll be longer periods of drought in coming decades. Increasing global surface temperatures also brings an increased likelihood of storm activity. As more water vapor increases in the atmosphere, more powerful and damaging storms develop. Scientists predict that tropical cyclones will continue to occur in their current regions, but will increase in their occurrence further south in more densely populated areas, bringing greater damage and devastation. As climate change fuels more intense and damaging storms, One Climate Council report states that the annual frequency of potential severe thunderstorms days is likely to increase by 30% for Sydney by the end of this century. Australia must look at ways it can assist in meeting global emission reduction plans in an attempt to curb any further climate change impact in this area. So what can we do? You have heard much discussion around the Paris Agreement. This legally binding document has been signed by 196 countries as governments commit to cutting global greenhouse gases to global temperature rises to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The Australian government has committed to reducing emissions by upgrading electricity grids to support more renewable power, reducing the purchase price of electric vehicles, supporting businesses and industries to innovate and develop or maintain better workplace practices and technology. The Net Zero 2050 plan will focus on creating jobs, reducing pressure on energy bills, and reducing emissions by boosting renewable energy. Through various projects such as the Emissions Reduction Fund, the regulation of emissions, and developing partnerships with climate change agencies, the Australian Government continues to work to decrease emissions of greenhouse gases within our community. There are many things we can all do to reduce our carbon footprint, such as using cars less, reusing and recycling, purchasing locally produced products, and choosing plant-based alternatives over meat more often. As Barack Obama once said, we're the first generation to feel the impact of climate change and the last generation that can do something about it. Thank you.